Welcome to MSP Unplugged. I'm your host, Paco, Lebron. This is the place to learn how to run your MSP, whether you're a nimble MSP or leading a team for the journey. This is the place for you. I would like to introduce you to my guest for today, my brother in arms, my good friend, also the owner and founder of Dimelo Media, Mr. Jose Torres. Jose, how you doing this fine Wednesday afternoon. So as it's coming on to you, we're going to talk a little bit about, from just the conversations that we've had, and even from when I was with our episode with Jeff, we were really having the conversation on podcasting and how everyone nowadays, A, is coming out with a podcast, and two, for those that do come out with a podcast, think it's fairly easy to the point where they just think it's record, save, and kind of move on to the next, right? And so I thought it would be a great opportunity to not only bring Jose on to talk a little bit about that, because not only is he our producer and has done a lot of our on-location podcasts throughout the years, but he has also helped other brands and other small businesses with their podcasts. So if this is something you're considering, maybe having a podcast for your brand to talk to your end user, this is the episode to tune into. So before we go into that, I want to talk about a tip, trick, or story, as we always do in the beginning of the episode. It'll be fairly quick. It's a brand that you all will know. We had this weird issue where we were fighting back and forth with Comcast on trying to get their networks up and running on a client site. So I went ahead and pulled out my trusty dusty link sprinter. And I say dusty because, as you can see, this thing is still yellow. Obviously the brand now is green, but this is the Fluke Link Sprinter 300. As everyone knows, the brand now is Net Ally. But what I will say, for a couple $100, this tool probably has saved me more in labor and time than it has in just trying to figure out what the issue is by plugging in, plugging out, connecting to the laptop, hope that there's going to be a report, some type of connectivity. And then this little device, not only does it have the LEDs that are on here, but also provides you with an actual report that will give you more detail as well. So again, look it up. We've talked about this product many times before. Just wanted to explain that this has come in handy once again. And that if you have not gotten one, you should go ahead and get one, and we'll make sure we have that link in the show notes here. So, but again, Jose, appreciate you coming out and us talking a little bit about, just podcasting in general. I think this is talked about sometimes, but never in the realm of how, our listeners, maybe even our listeners and users, are thinking about doing podcasting, right? Again, as I mentioned, we talked about this on one of the episodes previously, is that everyone just believes that podcasting is easy, right? And so before we kind of dive into that, why don't you share a little bit about kind of your experience with media, how you've kind of seen podcasting starting to take kind of storm for not only all industries, but also how they're trying to deliver value to an end user.
Well, first off, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on this side of the camera and be able to sit down with you and talk shop and some of the services and products that we've been able to offer Project Techs and MSP Unplug specifically, being able to travel with you to on location and capture not only your events, your presentations when you're a keynote speaker, but then also producing the hot topic, the podcasting, and being a travel podcaster, videographer, and producer. So with that said, being able to be a freelance creative for the past 10 years and being able to establish Dimelo Media in the last recent 3 years as a multimedia marketing company that allows my clients to produce very high-end products and visuals to help storytell their brands and sell their products properly has been something that I take pride on. So it's not just taking a photo or creating a video, is really bringing the brand to life through the way I see it and the way the client envisions it. So yeah.
Awesome. Now, kind of diving in again a little bit to you mentioned how your vast experience, and over the years, different medias have taken kind of front of mind. I think for a while, obviously video is very strong now. Before it was audio, then it was trying to piece together different sorts of medias with social and things of that nature. Now I feel like there's a lot of commotion about podcasts over the last maybe 3, maybe 4 years, but more seriously in the last 2. I've now seen, so, as you are aware, we've been doing this now for close to almost 10 to 11 years when no one knew what a podcast was, right? And so now you're noticing that either and I sit on both sides of the fence, right? As you mentioned, I have one where, running an MSP and now having my end users and end clients have podcasts that are interviewing them and talking about their particular verticals, whether it's construction, whether it's healthcare, whether it's legal, things of that nature. And then I have it on the other side, we're running MSP Unplugged. We actually do the podcasting and we're interviewing those for our like-minded companies. So I'm just curious, again, on your perspective of kind of the growth of podcasting and how it's become so popular. And how have you kind of seen that growth happen for the last couple of years, and how has that affected your business?
Definitely. So, great question. Is podcasting as a whole has evolved, as you said, over the past 10 years, from being just an audio service that people adapted to be able to listen on the go, travel as they're traveling to work or from to home, to this type of service, which is an audio visual, being able to capture the actual on set, on location, and build and add to the brand itself, has evolved heavily. As we already know, video is king, and it has allowed people to not only put forward and show the world who they are and who their brand is, but it allows to capture those relevant moments for the brand and as they continue to grow. So video as a whole has evolved, and it allows for people to capture a lot of what's happening on the go, whether you're a vlogger or short format video or just content for a reel or social media, but it allows you to capture. And the topic, when you brought it up, I'm also on the two sides of the fence, which is a lot of people think it's easy, and it is.
What?
But then also it isn't, right? So I always toy with the idea because the market in the electronic market has allowed for the average user to have accessibility to all the right tools to do it good. You can pick up a set of audio mics for $200, where before you needed a sound production for $500, $600, $700, if not $1,000 mic. Now you can walk into Best Buy and pick them up for $200. So you have the right tools to do it right. It's not as easy as most people think. And the hard part of any venture is getting it started, right? A lot of people want to start a podcast, and it stays here. It stays in the notes. It stays in maybe I should do it. Maybe I don't have the personality. Maybe I don't have the voice. But it is proven that consistency and longevity go hand on hand. And you're a prime example, right? When you came to us with the need to go on the road, I took a dive into your podcast and your YouTube channel and saw that you had the consistency. What you were needing was someone like myself and my company to come on site and produce high quality videos for the brand to be elevated.
Right.
So I was not creating a podcast for you. I was solving an issue and a problem that you had, which was you couldn't travel and bring your business and your podcast and do what you do at home, as most of your users see your weekly podcasts that are done from your house or from your office and your location, right? Once we go on site, we elevated what that looks like, from sound production to multicam angle to post-production to ads being plugged in. So we help elevate it. And that's how video has evolved as a whole, is the opportunities for you to do something and do it well are endless.
So, I think you mentioned a great point, and I want to play devil's advocate, right? Is that sometimes people don't start podcasts because they feel like their perspective is already out there. There's already so many of that type of podcast. But, in reverse, I think I see a lot of people put out podcasts that I don't know if that should be out in the matter of what's the ROI for that particular business. And I'll give you a perfect example. Myself, I run a IT MSP podcast for the last 11 years. I do not run a podcast for my MSP, to my end users. Why? And so the reason why is from obviously conversating with our marketing and things of that nature. There are other areas that we had better opportunities to explore and invest in versus being able to go ahead and producing a whole new podcast after me doing it for 11 years. Now you would think, oh, it's natural, it makes sense, why don't you do it? But it's a whole different conversation, it's a whole different industry, and it's a whole different perspective, right? And it's actually one that I can only speak at, not in. And so because of that, it has allowed me to understand, okay, if I can't immerse myself and be consistent, as you mentioned, and ensuring that you have the right investments, not only of resources for monetarily, but also in time, there makes no sense to move forward with that. But you've actually had a few clients that are outside of the industry and users of ours that you can mention as far as IT businesses that have found success in podcasts. Can you share a little bit about kind of what did those investments look like on their end, and how has going from elevating their brand from just maybe speaking on camera, maybe on like a Zoom call or things of that nature, to providing a structured and a more elegant solution for them? Because ultimately, from my understanding, your brand is not just a media company. You are in the business of telling stories.
That's correct.
And highlighting those stories and allowing not only for the business owner to know about it, but also their end users as well. But can you share a little bit about kind of like your involvement in helping develop some of the other podcasts that may be outside of our industry?
No, definitely. And so we'll start with one of my other clients, Savage Roofing. When Dan came to us with the need of a podcast, he had a need, and he understood that there was valuable information that he could be providing to his consumers through partnerships of other clients and other partners that he had in the industry that can help the consumer understand the roofing industry and its processes and procedures and some of the takeaways. And for him as an entrepreneur as well, the opportunity was there. And the biggest hurdle that any client can have when deciding to start a podcast is, do we have a story? And can you tell it, and can you tell it well? So before I even put a camera, a microphone on a person and say, oh yeah, let's do a podcast, I agree to it. It's what problem are we trying to solve? And typically I want to become more personable in regards to my brand. I want people to get to know me. Then they get to know my business. They get to know what the service is. And there's a conjunction of opportunities that come out of that. Now, there are clients that want to do a podcast that I have kindly declined because the opportunities for them to speak are not there. They don't have the strength to be just on a mic and developing that character and that persona that is required for people to feel connected. You have to connect with an audience that is not even here. Right now we're in a room with a camera, 2 mics, there's no one here, but we know on the other side of this camera, there's an audience that is listening to what we're saying, and can it be relatable?
Right.
And that's the number 2 step, right? It's a relatable. So first, do we have a story? 2, is it relatable? And ultimately the third one, which is, what is your ROI? What are you looking to get out of this?
Yeah.
And what that did for me as a media company, it allowed me to structure my services in a way that it positions my client for success. So instead of, we're going to meet every Friday, we're going to record a podcast, and we're just going to shoot from the hip and hope that we get something good.
Right.
Is we slowed it down, we met, we understood the assignment of we're going to travel.
Yeah.
You hire me to do 4 to 6 podcasts on location. what are the topics? Who are we interviewing? What are the times? Now we started putting together an agenda that help us say, hey, we got 30-minute segments. You need an hour break.
Yeah.
It was all of the pre-production that allowed us to successfully position you to film 4 to 6 podcasts on location and have relevant content.
And I think the biggest piece for that too is that if you're doing this for the first time on having any type of video production, you do want to pace yourself, because I can tell you, I've been doing this now with Jose probably now going into our 4th year of us doing this. And again, he covers not only just our on location podcast, but he also covers the video content and for TechCon as well. And so what I can tell you is that, our first year, and I think it was at PAX 8 Beyond is when we first did our on location podcast. I think we ripped through 8 to 12 of them. And I cannot tell you how exhausting it is to ensure that you maintain yourself, your exposure, your reading, you're staying on the cues. Like, you are performing in a level where you have to be consistent and concise in each individual episode, and it takes a toll on you. And it's almost as exhausting as you sitting in and learning and adjusting for content as well. But going into travel, right? And I'm not sure if you'll know this off the top of your head, but like as someone who wants to do a traveling podcast, meaning that they're going to engage with a producer, or maybe they want to learn about these type of things to go on road doing a podcast. What are some go-to tools or go-to equipment that you are a must for you to have, in your opinion, a successful traveling to get to do a podcast?
Well, I think right off the top, right, one of the things that we're doing for this podcast, particularly for the sake of time, and also we wanted to test a new idea. Typically, when we're filming a podcast, you see the interviewee and the interviewer with a headset, a microphone in front of them, and it is a podcast because you see those elements. Right. However, we decided for this podcast, we wanted to try on lav mics, which allows us to be, we set this up in about, 10 minutes? Yep. Frame and everything. They're not knocking anything over, which is mic, check the audio. And now we are recording this this podcast, and hopefully we're praying that it's good. No, ultimately is I wanted to see if efficiency is on our side, because one of the biggest hurdles that we have for any client when we decide to travel was the equipment getting to the location and traveling with multiple mic stands and boom arms and multiple cameras, light stand. And for a client that is probably willing to do that investment financially, right, we could do that. That means we got to travel a day before. We had to make sure the equipment got there. I remember going to Vegas one day and we decided to onboard another person to the podcast. So we went from 3 to 4, and we had only come with 3 mics and 3 boom arms. So right before the podcast, an hour before the podcast, I ran to the local Best Buy, found another mic, and while we didn't think we were going to need a 4th mic, the opportunity to interview that 4th person, which was valuable, right? So we're just not going to jump the gun and say, hey, yeah, we need 10 mics and we need... Right. It's the commitment for any travel podcast is, do I want to go through the process? I don't like to call it stress, because I think if you're stressing about it, then you shouldn't do it. But if you're willing to tackle the process and understand how we are going to get from point A to point B and do it well, I say it's microphones. And again, at this point, even an iPhone 15, 16 that shoots 4K will help tell a good visual story if that's all you have to start. Now, when you do that and you commit to it and you're consistent, you'll see the results.
Yeah, I mean, I think, being able to thinking ahead and prepare, not winging it, or running and gunning is another term that's been used around. Having the proper equipment, having the proper even casing. I remember that you had went through several casings and some got damaged. You were able to find one that was a little bit more sturdier, a little bit more lighter, as you consolidated and understand the needs of the particular podcast. Now, obviously, while on location is a little bit different than having a standard studio setup, right? Correct. And so, especially like if you're at an event like a PAX 8, a Channel Con, things of that nature, you can only hope that they have everything that you need there. 9 times out of 10, there's a table, there's power, maybe the opportunity to put a tablecloth, but really you're bringing the entire setup, right? Have you ever found yourself where not being prepared has altered the quality of something of on location, traveling versus a studio that's already established and you kind of just have to go behind the camera and hit record? What are some nuances that you have learned or you have seen while going on the road that could be maybe learning lessons that for those that are trying to take a podcast on the road or start a podcast while they're on location somewhere?
Yeah, I live by this saying. A lot of people don't plan to fail, but they fail to plan.
Yep.
And I think we could go back to when we went to Denver. You can not anticipate going through TSA and picking up your luggage with over $500-600 worth of light stands and microphone boom arms, and seeing the bag completely ripped apart, and you're like, I just hope everything's in there, right? You cannot
Wrapped with
some of the saran wrap that they had at the airport, and my heart dropped, right? And it's something that I didn't anticipate. I didn't prepare for that. I'm like, I never thought it's like, hey, what if my bag breaks in the middle of traveling from Chicago to? So at that point, we were at the airport. We continued to wrap it, and then we carried it out and went and bought another bag at a local camera shop. But that's one thing, right? You got to know that there are chances that sometimes if you're traveling from state to state or another side of the country, equipment can go missing. Mm-hmm. And what's next? You have people waiting for you. And now you got to be quick on your feet and think of how do we fix this problem. And as a traveling content creator, I've gone through my hand full of events that something has happened that is out of my control. Now, what I can control is being able to have the experience and bring those solutions to my clients. Like, hey, do not panic, right? I could have called and say, hey, unfortunately, we can't do this. No, we pivot. And we figured out how to fix it and how to make it happen.
Although there was one time when it was TechCon New Jersey, he calls me while on the plane. He's like, yeah, they're not letting us get off the ground. So I think we're going to end up missing the event. And it just so happened he was the next flight out. And then basically everyone else was all canceled. So again, you can't prepare for some of those things, even down to like fees and additional costs too, like checking larger items and things of that nature, trying to prepare and write up to the location with you providing that great quality and also obviously ultimately telling that story as well. Yeah.
Oh no! I think to your point, like even from a light switch or an outlet being nearby, so it's so many little things that you learn and you try to improve for the next time.
Yeah.
Right. To me, there are things that are going to go wrong. It's not the end of the world. It's how do we pivot? How do we fix it? But then also, how do we take that learning experience and apply it for the next time?
And then, and I'll round out the episode with this, right? And the question maybe coming up here is, why do I need a media company like Dimelo Media to do production, to do producing pre and post? And I'll have Jose chime in here, but I remember, and again, this was a very big flaw of ours last year, where we decided, okay, we're going to save a little bit of money. We're going to try and do it ourselves. We have the equipment, and we'll go ahead and set it all up. And unfortunately, we just kept getting greeted with things we didn't put into place, that we didn't think about. Because again, we are not producers. We are, when it's in front of a camera, we have a production software, StreamYard, that allows us to do it when it's the talking heads. But when you have something on location, it's a completely different animal. You have the transceiver or the sound receiver or the controller, the switchboard, making sure that that's connected properly. Is that syncing with audio from the microphones, or do you have to do that post-production? Do you have a software that combines the two together? Is the equipment even working? Did we test it out? Do we know how to test it out properly? Whereas he can do something in a matter of minutes, where for me, we're trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I make sure that it's working? Oh, it sounds like it's working, but then when you have the end result, where we had lost all of our interviews, then when we were on location in Nashville, because it just sounded like a wah, 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 wah as you were recording it. But that was because we chose to go ahead and do it ourselves, instead of leveraging a production or a producer who knows what's going on, who can test it, can, hey, give you the cues and things of that nature, which goes so much further on those investments. But not sure if there was anything you wanted to tie into that, where, everyone is always concerned about the camera and everyone's concerned about the location, but there's never so much emphasis on the pre and the post-production to deliver the quality, because for you listening today, that's what it's all about. We can do this all day, every day, but if it's not done in a final product to present to you, then it was just wasted time. And that's truly the worst case, to have wasted resources.
Yeah, no, and to your point, and there are things that we can assess and fix in the spur of the moment, from an audio recorder dying from poor batteries, to a memory card being corrupted, and the producing part, what it allows me to do and what it allows me to do for you is remove the unnecessary stress of managing the technicalities of the equipment.
Shoot.
Your focus should be on your content and your guest, being able to ask and receive those questions and actively produce a podcast that is engaging. Because if you're worrying about who's sitting next to you, but then you're also worrying about, did we check the audio? Did we have a new fresh memory card? Is it recording? Can I see a recording? And now your mind, am I muted? All these little things that can go wrong will go wrong. And most important is, you're going to produce a podcast that, if it comes out well, and if you're able to use it, the stress is going to be visible, because you're not engaging with your guest. And ultimately, that's what I do, is I come in and we remove that stress. We remove the responsibility of managing the equipment, how to get it there, how to set it up. There has been times where we chose a location and we thought we were good there, and then we see 50,000 people behind you, and while it might look good for content, you could hear them in the background. You could hear that. So every year after year, every time you're challenged us to travel to a new location, which again, we're thankful for the opportunity and the partnership with you and your company, and we're excited for 2026 and being able to travel to all these different states that we will be going to this year. It's how do we make it better? How do we make it a better experience for you? Yeah. And in return, it makes it better for your guests and your audience on the other side.
Yep, absolutely. So as you heard from him, more On Location podcasts here coming up. We plan to continue to keep running through not only having the experience and the opportunities of discussing what we can do on the podcast, but also bringing like-minded business owners and having the professionals bring these type of content as well. But Jose, I really appreciate you coming on the episode here. If anyone wanted to reach out to you, either to like pick your brain out, see how to even figure out to do a podcast, or maybe even to leverage your services, is there any way, what's the best way for them to reach out?
No, definitely. They can reach me out directly to my email at Jose, Jose, at Dimelo Media. Telephone number 815-409-9249, or simply leave a comment on one of your videos and we'll get to them.
Absolutely. So again, a quick video. I just wanted, because this was front of mind, really talking about those that are trying to do podcasts now. It's 2026. This may be an endeavor for you to dive into video and get into podcasting for your end users. And again, there's a lot of things to take into consideration for research and things of that nature. So I'm hoping that this will be of some value for those that are planning to try or plan to come out with a podcast of their own for your own individual brand. So appreciate you tuning in. Tune in every week. You'll see the video podcast on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and you'll be notified whenever a new episode is available. Feel free to take us with you on the go. If you want to know what podcatchers that we're on, such as Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or Spotify, head over to mspunplugged.com. You'll see all of the icons there and subscribe to the one that you feel is best. And again, announcement to come soon, TechCon Unplugged. We will be back this year. It will be in the fall. Stay tuned on dates and location. There's coming up here soon. You'll be seeing myself. You'll be seeing Jose here. And I ultimately appreciate you listening. And we look forward to seeing you next time on MSP Unplugged.